Hey everyone, I'm Luke, and in this lesson we're going to look at how to use the verb wish. So before I begin, wish is a very complicated verb because it can be used in many ways. But in this lesson, I'm just going to show you the 3 most common ways. Number 1, wishes about the present. We use wish plus the past simple to talk about a present situation that you want to be different, but understand that it can't be. For example, I wish I were taller. I'm not that tall, but I would like to be. I wish I spoke French. I don't speak French, but I would like to be able to. I wish I didn't have to go to work today. I have to go to work today, but I don't want to. Here's a quick grammar tip. Notice the be verb in number 1 is were. This is common in more formal English. However, I wish I was is also very common. For example, I wish I was taller. Both are correct. Number 2, wishes about the past. We use wish plus the past perfect to talk about wishes about past situations. This is often used to express your regrets about a past action. For example, I wish I had studied harder at school. I didn't study hard and I regret that. I wish I hadn't spent all my money last night. I spent all my money and I regret doing so. I wish she hadn't told me her secret. She told me her secret, and I regret that she told me. Here's a quick pronunciation tip. When you're speaking quickly and naturally, it's better to contract the pronoun with had. Like in example 1. I wish I had studied harder at school can be I wish I'd studied harder at school. That's much more natural. Number 3. Wishes that show that you're angry or annoyed. We use wish plus would plus the bare infinitive to show that you're annoyed at something in the present. For example, I wish you would stop smoking. You're smoking and I'm annoyed by that. I wish it would stop raining. I'm annoyed that it's raining. I wish he would listen to me. I'm annoyed that he doesn't listen to me. Again, here, to speak more naturally, try to contract the pronoun with would. Like this. I wish you'd stop smoking. I wish it'd stop raining. I wish he'd listen to me. Okay, to wrap up. Wish is a bit complicated because it can be used in many ways, but the 3 most common ways are 1. Wish is about the present. We make this by using wish plus the past simple. I wish I were taller. 2. Wish is about the past, often used to express regret. We make this by using wish plus the past perfect. I wish I had studied harder. 3. Wishes that show you're annoyed by something. This is made by using wish plus would plus the bare infinitive. I wish he would stop making so much noise. Okay, that's all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. See you. Each and every. What's the difference? Well, they can at times be used without much difference in meaning. Like, you look more beautiful each time I see you. You look more beautiful every time I see you. There's almost no difference in meaning in these 2 sentences. But we do prefer to use each when we're thinking of people or things separately, as individual people or things. For example, read each sentence carefully. Read the individual sentences carefully. Each student studied hard for the exam. Here I'm thinking of the students as individuals. Every is more common when we're thinking of people or things together, as a group or as a collective. Every patient came from the same city. I'm thinking of the patients as a group. Every child got a present from Santa. Again, I'm thinking of the children as a group, not individual children. So the main difference is all to do with the way you think of something, as individual things or as a group. But there are some more differences, and here are 3 more. When you're talking about 2 things, you have to use each. But when you're talking about 3 things or more, you can use each or every. For example, each shop on this street sells donuts. There might be 2 shops or more than 2 shops on the street that sell donuts. Every shop on this street sells donuts. There are definitely 3 or more shops on this street that sell donuts. Number 2. Each and every are normally used with singular nouns, but you can use each with plural nouns. However, it must be followed by of. Each of my students passed the test. Each of my books is a different color. But you cannot say every of my books is a different color. That's wrong. Instead, you need to say every one of my books is a different color. Finally, we do not use each with words like almost, nearly, and practically. You have to use every with these words, just like this. I study English almost every day. Nearly every student was late to class. She's broken practically every record at the Olympics. Okay, do you remember each rule? If not, go back and study every one of them again. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hi guys, I'm your English teacher Luke. So tell me, what's the difference between stop to do and stop doing something? Have a look at these 2 sentences. I stopped to smoke. I stopped smoking. Are they both grammatically correct? Yeah, sure they are. But do they mean the same thing? Well, no, they don't. So why not? Let's take a look. When we use stop plus verb ing, the activity in the ing verb stops or ends. So let's have a look at some examples. I stopped smoking because it was bad for my health. What activity ended? Right, smoking ended. When I entered the room, everyone stopped talking. What activity ended here? Yeah, talking ended. It has stopped raining. Let's go for a walk. Here, raining ended. So notice that when we use stop plus verb ing, we are only talking about one action, and that one action stopped or ended. Stopped smoking is one action, stopped talking is one action, stopped raining is just one action. When stop is followed by the infinitive to, it means in order to. So you stop one action in order to do another action. There are 2 actions. Here are some examples. On my way to work, I stopped to buy a chocolate bar. Action 1 is to stop walking because I walk to work. Action 2 is to buy a chocolate bar. 2 actions. You could also say it this way. I stopped walking to work in order to buy a chocolate bar. Here's another example. I was working for an hour, but then I stopped to take a break. Action 1 is stop working. Action 2 is take a break. I was watching TV, but I stopped to do some work. Action 1, stop watching TV. Action 2, to do some work. Okay, this is pretty simple, yeah? So to sum up, stop plus verb ing is used to show that one action stops or ends. Just one action. Stop plus the infinitive to is used to show that we stop one action in order to do another action. There are 2 actions. So what have you stopped to do or stopped doing recently? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hi guys, I'm your English teacher Luke. So you've probably heard native English speakers on TV or in real life use the words wanna and gonna frequently. But how can you use them correctly? Well, the first thing you need to know is that these expressions are extremely common in informal spoken English in America and in Britain. They're common in spoken English, but they are not used in written English, unless it's something like a text message to a friend. Normally, when you're writing, you should use their extended form, want to and go into. Gonna is a form of be going to, and it's used for future plans or future predictions. There are two big mistakes students often make with gonna. The first one is forgetting to use the be verb. Some students say, I gonna watch a film. He gonna come home late. We gonna have a coffee. These are wrong because gonna needs the be verb. Just like this. I'm gonna watch a film. He's gonna come home. We're gonna have a coffee. The second mistake is forgetting that gonna is always followed by a verb in its bare infinitive form. So, I'm gonna to the cinema or I'm gonna the laundry. These sentences are not correct because there's no verb. Instead, say, I'm gonna go to the cinema. I'm gonna do the laundry. So don't forget the verb. Wanna means want to. It's used in the same way as want to when the pronoun is I, you, we, or they. So, I wanna have a pizza for dinner. You don't wanna go home. We wanna take a break. They wanna finish early today. This is easy. But wanna cannot be used when the pronoun is he, she, it, or when you use a name. Why not? Because of the third person singular, the S at the end of verbs. So, he wanna leave early? That's wrong. He wants to leave early. And notice, the pronunciation of wants to is wants to. Wants to. He wants to leave early. Some more examples. She wants to have a big cup of coffee. It wants to go home. Alex wants to go on holiday. Okay, to wrap up, gonna is a form of be going to, and it's used for future plans and predictions. When you're using gonna, don't forget the be verb, and remember, gonna is always followed by a verb in its bare infinitive form. Wanna means want to, and it's used when the pronouns are I, you, we, and they. You can't use wanna with the pronouns he, she, it, or someone's name. In this case, you have to say wants to. Okay, that's it from me today. I hope this was helpful. Cheers and have a good day. Hi guys, I'm your teacher Luke, and today I have a question for you. Why do we sometimes put an extra do in positive sentences? Like this. I do like kimchi. Or, I do want to go away this weekend. Usually do, as an auxiliary verb, is only used in questions and negatives. Do you like waking up early in the morning? No, I don't like waking up early. In a positive sentence, we would answer this question like this. Yes, I like waking up early. So then, why do we sometimes use an extra do in positive sentences? I do like waking up early. Well, there are two reasons for using an extra do. One reason we use an extra do in a positive sentence is for emphasis. Tell me, which sounds stronger to you? I like waking up early. I do like waking up early. Right, it's the second one. The extra do provides quite a lot more emphasis to your sentence. Do or does can be used in the present simple, and did can be used in the past simple. They go before the main verb and they get the main stress in the sentence. Listen to these. I do love eating kimchi. It's delicious. He does look tired. I hope he's okay. They did have a great time in Spain. Another reason we use an extra do is to show contrast between two ideas. For example, even though studying Chinese is difficult, I do try my best. I don't eat much sweet food, but I do enjoy eating ice cream after my dinner. My boss said my email was late, but I did send it on time. To sum up, we use an extra do in positive sentences for two reasons. The first reason is for extra emphasis, and the second is to show contrast. But remember, put the stress on the do when you're speaking. I do enjoy making English grammar videos for you. Okay, that's it from me today. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
We'll see. There's this guy that she met
at the coffee house, right?
So you do know who he is.
I do love him. I do.
I do appreciate your help, Busan.
Hi guys, how's it going? I'm Luke, and today I'm going to talk about the difference between still, already, and yet. So still, already, and yet can all be used to talk about things that are happening or expected to happen around the present. But they don't mean the same thing. So let's look at them in some more detail. Still is used to say that something is happening now, but has not finished. Sometimes it's used to show surprise that something has not finished. For example, why is she still asleep? It's 1 p.m. I'm still looking for my wallet. I'm still trying to decide which movie to watch. In negative sentences, we use still when you think an action should have finished, but it didn't. For example, I still haven't found my wallet. I should have found it by now. I still can't decide which movie to watch. I should have decided by now. Okay, here's a quick tip. Look at where still is in these sentences. What goes right before it? Yeah, it's the subject of the sentence. So remember, still always goes after the subject of the sentence.
I'm still standing. Can I still come? I'm still grateful.
Already. We use already to talk about something that finished earlier, sometimes earlier than expected. For example, he's already graduated from university. I've already studied this. She's sleeping already. Okay, here's another quick tip. Look at where already is in these sentences. So as you can see, it can be put in two places. Number one, it can go in between the subject and the verb, like in sentences 1 and 2, or it can go at the end of the sentence, like in sentence 3. When you put already at the end of the sentence, it adds a bit more emphasis to already.
We already did it.
We are already dead.
I already am.
Yet. Yet is used to say that something hasn't happened, but we think it will happen. Yet is mostly used in negative sentences and in questions. For example, the postman hasn't come yet, but I think he will come later. The coffee shop isn't open yet, but I think it will open later. Don't eat the apples, they aren't ripe yet, but they will be ripe later. In questions, we use yet to ask whether something expected has happened. For example, is dinner ready yet? I'm expecting dinner. Has your brother found a job yet? I'm expecting him to find a job. Another quick tip, yet almost always goes at the end of a sentence.
Oh, we haven't done it yet.
Oh, shut up! It wasn't done yet.
But you haven't found it yet, Alba.
But you haven't solved it yet.
Okay, to sum up, still is used to say that something is happening now but hasn't finished. It can be used to show surprise. Already is used to say that something finished earlier than expected. And yet is used to say that something that is expected to happen has not happened, but we think it will. Yet is mostly used in negative sentences and questions. Okay, that's it from me today. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hi everyone, I'm your teacher Luke, and in this lesson you're going to learn 5 useful rules for using the definite article. The definite article is simply the word the, and it causes so many problems for English learners like yourself. Now there are of course more rules than just 5 for the article the, but these 5 are mistakes that I hear my students making all the time, so I hope this video will help you stop making the same mistakes. Okay, let's get started. Rule number 1. We use the article the when we are talking about a country or a place that is made up of a group of states, islands, or sometimes countries. Here are some examples. We have the United Kingdom, which is made up of 4 different countries: England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. I come from Wales, by the way. Then we have the United States, which is made up of 50 different states. Next, we have bigger areas in the world, like the Middle East, for example, which is made up of 17 different countries. Then we have countries that are made up of lots of different islands. So, for example, maybe the Samoan Islands or the Philippines. Both of these countries are made up of many different islands, so we always use the article the before them. We don't use the article the when talking about countries that are not made up of different groups. So a mistake I commonly hear is this: I live in the Korea, or I want to visit the India. Now both of these sentences are wrong because Korea and India are not made up of a group of states, countries, or islands. They're just one place. So we don't use the article the in front of countries like these. Rule number 2. We always use the with superlatives. So what is a superlative? Well, a superlative is an adjective which shows that something has the greatest quality. We use superlatives when we are comparing one thing among a big group of things. And you can make superlatives easily by using adjective plus est for shorter words and most plus adjective for longer words. Here are some examples. We have the adjective big. So if we want to make this a superlative, we add est on the end and it becomes biggest. But remember, we always use the article the with superlatives, so it is always the biggest. For example, Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system. Another example is with the adjective expensive. Now, expensive is a longer adjective, so to make this a superlative, we must add the word most before the adjective. So it becomes most expensive. But again, we always use the article the, so it is the most expensive. For example, Rolexes are the most expensive watches. Rule number 3. We use the when there is only one of the thing you're talking about in the entire world. So let's look at some examples. How about this word, environment? How many environments are there in the world? Well, there's just one, so it is always the environment. Here's a sample sentence. We must protect the environment. Or, the environment is in danger. How about this word, internet? How many internets are there in the world? Well, again, there's only one. There might be many different internet providers, but there's only one internet. So it is always the internet. Have a look at this sentence. The internet has changed our lives greatly. Or, the best thing about the internet is that it connects people from all over the world. Rule number 4 is really similar to rule number 3, but on a smaller scale. So we can use the article the when there's only one thing you're talking about in a particular area, like a city or a country. So for example, the word government can become the government if you're talking about a particular government in a particular country. For example, the government just introduced a new law. You can also add an adjective before the noun, like this. The British government just introduced a new law, or the new government just introduced a new law. But remember, you always need to use the article before the word government if you're talking about a particular government from a particular country. So remember, if there's only one thing you're talking about from a particular area, like a city or a country, then you should use the word the in front of the noun. And rule number 5. We use the when the speaker and listener both know exactly what is being talked about. For example, I could say, I like the dog with big ears. In this sentence, both the speaker and the listener know exactly what is being talked about, that one particular dog. If we change this sentence to, I like dogs with big ears, then the speaker is not talking about one particular dog, but talking about all dogs with big ears in general. So remember, we use the if the speaker and the listener both know about what is being talked about. If you don't and you want to make a generalization, then you don't use an article. Instead, you use the plural noun. Like in this example, I like dogs with big ears. So I hope this video helped you understand when you can use the article the. There are more rules than this, but those rules are for more advanced lessons. I'll definitely cover more rules in a later video. Okay, so that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I want you now to make your own sentences in the comments below using these rules. Okay, see you later. Everyone, welcome to the first lesson on if sentences. In this lesson, you will learn everything about the zero conditional. But before we begin studying, I want to tell you a short story. Today's story is about rainy days, and I want you to listen and answer this question. What happens to the bus on rainy days? Are you ready? Let's begin. I don't like rainy days. On rainy days, I can't walk my dog and my clothes get wet. Most of all, if it rains, the bus gets crowded, so it's difficult to get to work on time. Hey again, so did you answer my question? Well, the answer is, if it rains, the bus gets crowded. And this is the sentence we're going to study today. We're going to study the meaning, form, and pronunciation. Let's get started. We're going to look at the meaning of this sentence first. As you can see, this sentence has two parts. Part A, if it rains, and part B, the bus gets crowded. So what does this sentence mean? Well, let's find out by answering these 4 questions together. So first tell me, is it raining now? No, it isn't. I'm not talking about now, I'm just talking about normal rainy days. Next question, is the bus crowded now? No, it isn't. Again, I'm just saying that the bus gets crowded on rainy days, not right now. Now the third one. What am I talking about in this sentence? A present event or a general truth? Right, this is about a general truth because this event happens more than once. Raining generally leads to the bus getting crowded. It's almost like a rule. Last one, is B the result of A? Yes, it is. For B to happen, A must happen first. Raining is the first thing that must happen, and the bus getting crowded is the result that follows next. To sum up, we use the zero conditional to talk about a general truth with a condition and its result. Okay, I have a quick tip for you. You can use the zero conditional for scientific facts. When we talk about science, we often say, if something happens, something else happens as a result. So let's think about when water freezes. How can we say this using the zero conditional? Well, this is one way. If the temperature gets below 0 degrees, water freezes. So here, if the temperature gets below 0 degrees is the condition, and this condition always leads to the result, which is water freezes. Like this, the zero conditional is used for a general truth, and you can explain a scientific fact with it. Now, I hope this helped you understand the meaning of the zero conditional clearly. Now let's study the form of this sentence. As you can see, this sentence has two parts. If it rains and the bus gets crowded. So how do we make this sentence? Well, this is how. It is if plus subject plus the present simple verb, comma, this is the if clause, and subject plus the present simple verb, this is the main clause. Remember, in both clauses, we should use the present simple verb. Then how do we change this into a negative sentence? Well, first we need to change the verbs rains and gets. So for the negative sentence, we need this form. Doesn't or don't plus the base verb. In this sentence, the if clause has a singular subject, it, and the main clause also has a singular subject, the bus. So for these singular subjects, we need to use doesn't. So the negative sentence looks like this. If it doesn't rain, the bus doesn't get crowded. Now it's time to practice speaking like a native speaker. When we speak in English, some words in a sentence sound connected to each other. For example, an orange sounds like an orange when we are speaking fluently. It's because we connect the last consonant sound to the next vowel sound, and we call this linking. We're going to practice linking with today's sentence here. First, listen carefully and find the two words that are linked in this sentence. I will say it 2 times. Ready? If it rains, the bus gets crowded. If it rains, the bus gets crowded. So did you hear which words were linked here? Well, it was if and it. So what happened to if and it here? Well, if's last consonant is f, and the next vowel sound is I. These got linked together and became if it. If it. Okay, now I'll say this sentence again and I want you to listen and repeat after me. Let's go. If it rains, the bus gets crowded. One more time. If it rains, the bus gets crowded. Good job. From now on, pay attention to linking when you are listening or speaking in English. And after this lesson, check out the listening and speaking videos for more sentences to practice. Now let's review everything we studied in this video. Let's start with the meaning. We use the zero conditional to talk about a general truth with a condition and its result. Let's move on to the form. We make this sentence like this: if plus subject plus present simple verb, comma, subject plus present simple verb. For a negative sentence, you change both verbs like this: doesn't or don't plus the base verb. The last bit to review is the pronunciation. We learned that the last consonant of a word is linked to the next vowel sound. So this sentence sounds like this: if it rains, the bus gets crowded. Great, thank you very much for studying with me. Now, do you feel confident enough to use the zero conditional? Well, if you don't worry. Practice makes perfect. So don't miss our next listening and speaking videos. Okay, I'll see you there.
Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so the past continuous tense is a tricky one for many students to use. I think it's because you have to think very logically when you're actually speaking or telling a story and using different tenses for different situations. So it's a tricky one for students. In this lesson, we're going to cover two different meanings, which are very common for intermediate level learners. And of course, we're going to look at the form, which basically means the grammar of the tense and how we can use it accurately when we're speaking. Okay, we have another student here. We have Adi Khan. Good morning. Thank you. It's good afternoon here, but anyway, good morning for you. Okay, so let's start with the first section. So there are two meanings that we're going to cover today. The first meaning is about using the past continuous for an ongoing action in the past. This is the most common usage and probably the easiest one for us to learn and to use. Then we're going to look at another really common usage of the past continuous, which is to talk about an action that was interrupted in the past. The second one is a little bit more tricky because it has a bit more complex grammar structures, but it's very common, so it's good for us to study and practice number two. Oh, hello Heidi from Austria again. Good to see you again. Happy that you came back here. All right, so let's get started. So meaning number one, like I said, we use it to talk about an ongoing action or an ongoing event that started in the past. When we say ongoing, we mean that it's not something that began and finished. It's something that is continuously happened. But of course, we're talking about the past here. So it's a little bit tricky for us to imagine this, but in the present, you have the ing form of a verb, like for example, I am teaching. That's quite easy. It's I'm teaching you now and it's ongoing. I can say, maybe tomorrow, about today, I was teaching. So this is a past action, ongoing action in the past. This grammar is often used to tell a story, and we use it to describe an action or an event at a specific time in that story, especially actions that were not finished, maybe ongoing at that time. Sophie from France, hello. Good to see you. I love France. Again, guys, if you're new to this chat, please introduce yourself and let everyone else know where you come from. So far, we have people from Turkey, Austria, Korea, maybe Vietnam, and also France. So this is amazing. Okay, so let's move on. So, for example, of meaning number one, we can say I was watching TV at 8 o'clock. So if we look at this example, I want to ask you some questions to go with it. So, did I start watching TV before 8 o'clock in this example? Yes or no? Well, the answer is yes. For this example, yes, I was watching TV before 8 o'clock. Number 2, was I still watching TV after 8 o'clock? Again, yes, I was. An ongoing action. So, was the action in progress at 8 o'clock? Yes, it was. So this is all about an ongoing action. It started before, it carried on after. So it was ongoing at a specific time in the past. This is where we use the past continuous. Okay, we have a couple more students here. We have Laureen from Turkey. That's amazing. Hello. And we have Adil again from India. So good to see you. Yeah, so I hope these questions help clarify. So again, ongoing action in the past means that it was started before that specific time, it was happening during that specific time, and it was happening after. So I was watching TV at 8 o'clock. Zakia from Indonesia, welcome. Welcome to this lesson. Okay, so how do we make this past continuous grammar using grammar? How do we make these sentences? Well, this is the best way. In an affirmative sentence, which means in a positive sentence, it's very simple. It's just the subject plus be verb plus verb ing. But of course, remember, this is a past action, so we have to use the past forms of be verb, which are was or were. Verb ing can also be called the present participle. When a verb becomes an ongoing verb, like in present continuous or past continuous, then we can call it the present participle. Okay, oh, we have so many students here. This is fantastic. Hello, everyone. If you're new, as always, please introduce yourself, your name and your country. Okay, let's move on. So here are some examples. I was reading last night. So I was, of course, the subject is I, so the following be verb takes the was form. Read, ing, reading last night. They, the subject is they, so the be verb takes a different form, which is were, not they was, but they were. And of course, play becomes playing. So they were playing at 9 a.m. Okay, that's the positive, the affirmative sentences. Now let's take a look at the negative sentences. So how can we make a past continuous sentence into a negative? If you have any ideas, write them in the chat. Maybe you can write some examples in the chat and I'll check them. So how can we make a negative past continuous? And I'll check who's here. 11 students currently. This is great. Yes, so Cuba wrote, I was not reading maybe a book last night. Yes, try to use the article, Cuba, so a book. Max says, I wasn't playing at 9 p.m. That's great. And you says, sorry, I'm late. No problem. You is really good to be here. You and anyone else who's new to this chat, in this lesson, we're covering the past continuous forms. Okay, so yes, Zach, Kubra and Max had some good examples of the negative form of the past continuous. Let's have a look. So we make the past continuous like this. Subject plus be verb again, followed by not, again, the verb ing. Surong, hello. I hope I pronounced your name right. Good to see you. Okay, so for example, I was not reading at 10 a.m., which is really similar to Max's example. That's awesome. Then we have number 2, they were not studying at all. These are some examples of the negative form of the past continuous. However, when we are speaking, do we speak it like in these examples? So when I'm speaking, do I say, I was not reading at 10 a.m. They were not studying at all? Do we speak it like that? Leave your answer, yes or no, in the comments. Yes, Max says no, and that's true. We don't speak it like... Can you see we don't speak it like in these examples because this is the written form. When we're writing academically, we can write it like this, but we don't speak it. When we speak it, we use a contraction. So what happens, for example, number 1, was and not, they get put together and it becomes wasn't. I wasn't reading at 10 a.m. Number 2, were and not get put together, they get contracted and they become they weren't studying at all. So remember, when you are speaking and using the negative sentences of the past continuous, always try to use contractions. So one more time. I wasn't, you wasn't, they weren't, we weren't. It's always like that when we are speaking. Pronunciation is really, really helpful to make you sound much more natural when you're speaking English, and using contractions is one element of pronunciation that's really useful for you to study. Oh, okay, we have Surong, who says he's from Vietnam, and then Miss Yu introduced him. I think Miss Yu has introduced many students to this live lesson, so really grateful, and that's just amazing. So really, I'm really thankful you. Okay, let's move on then. So how do we make this a question? So how can you write a question using the past continuous? Write some examples in the chat box, please. Zakia, that's a really good example. We were not watching a comedy last night when my mother came. Good, good. That's a good example of the negative form. How can you make that a question? Yep, okay, so we have some examples here. So Max said, were they playing at 9 p.m? That's a good question. And Heidi says, were they watching TV last night? Yes, good. So this is how we make questions. We start off with the be verb, was, were, and then we put the subject and verb ing. So for example, was she reading last night? Were they doing their homework? We have some more examples. Win says, what were you doing last night when I called you? That's a really good example. Okay, so that's meaning number 1 finished. Meaning number 1 is quite simple. Meaning number 2 is something I want to focus more on in this lesson because it's more at an intermediate lesson. And I think if you are watching this live lesson and you can understand me, then you must be at least intermediate, maybe even advanced. So, meaning number 2. We use the past continuous to talk about an unfinished action that was interrupted by another action. This is a really, really common meaning of the past continuous. And it's complicated because it involves 2 actions. So, for example, I was having a beautiful dream when the alarm clock rang. This is actually true this morning. My alarm clock totally interrupted my dream and I was very upset. So again, one more time. I was having a beautiful dream when the alarm clock rang. So this sentence has 2 actions. We have was having a dream, and we have alarm clock rang. Which action do you think came first here? Which is the first action? Was having or rang? Yes, Heidi, you're right. Was having is the first action, and then alarm clock rang is the second action here. And it's really important to know this because this is how we structure a past continuous sentence that was interrupted. We start off with past continuous, which is the first action, and then the second action uses a different grammatical form, which is past simple. Rang is the past simple form of ring. Okay, it's just I have a few comments to reply to, so I will carry on this lesson in 1 minute. So we have Winnair, you said, what were you doing last night when I called you? That's a really good question. A really good example of the present continuous in a question. Adil Khan gave a negative sentence. I wasn't singing last night. Zakia said, were you studying English last night? Yes, these are all really good examples. And Kubra said, were you singing last night when I came home? That's a good example of a question using meaning number 2. So that's well done. Zakia said, was your father listening to music when he was watching the news? Good. Okay, so action 1 and action 2 are important here. So we have to remember which actions came first and which ones followed. Also, in this example, I was having a beautiful dream when the alarm clock rang. Let's go through some questions to see if we can really understand it. So firstly, did I start dreaming before the alarm clock rang? Yes or no? Yes, I did. Right, Heidi? I did. That was the first action. Was my dream ongoing when my alarm clock rang? I mean, was that dream in action? Was it happening when my alarm clock rang? Again, yes. Right, Heidi? Yes, it was. And then, did I stop dreaming? Yes, I did. So this is what we call an interruption. Something you are doing, something else happens, and it interrupts it. So for this grammar, the present continuous is used to express an interrupted action. I was having a beautiful dream. It was great. Then my alarm clock rang and it interrupted my dream. I was really sad. Okay, so how do we make these sentences then? So we make the past continuous for interrupted actions just like this. We have to use words like when and while. So for example, using the word when, we use the past continuous in the first chunk, the first clause, then the word when, and then after that becomes the past simple. So for example, I was cooking. This is past continuous. This is the first action. When my phone rang, which is the past simple. So when is actually very closely linked to the past simple. I was cooking when my phone rang. Again, here, which is the first action? It is was cooking, and the second action is my phone rang. Did my phone interrupt me? Did it interrupt my cooking? Yeah, it did. This was an interruption. I was cooking and my phone rang, so I had to stop cooking. It interrupted me. Okay, thank you, Zakia and Max and Laureen to keep responding. Keep writing more comments. Thank you very much. Okay, now for meaning number 2. We make the past continuous for interruption actions like this. This is with while. So while plus the past continuous, comma, past simple. So for example, while I was cooking, my phone rang. While is linked with the past continuous, and when is linked with the present simple. But you never use while and when in the same sentence. So you don't say, while I was cooking when my phone rang. No, you just choose one. So you can use both. They both may have the same meaning, but the way you use it is differently. So while is linked with the present continuous, and when is linked with the past simple. So for example, while I was cooking, my phone rang. Again, while I was cooking is the first action, and my phone rang is the second action. I can, if I wanted to, change it over. So I could say, my phone rang while I was cooking. Same idea. While is linked to the present continuous. If I say, my phone rang while I was cooking, in that case, we don't need to use a comma when you're writing it. You only use a comma when while is at the front. Win asked the question. Win there, I'll try to answer your questions. If you have any questions as we're going along, please leave them in the comments and I'll take some time to answer them. So Win says, I took a bath while you were going to the party. It's not wrong. In this case, you're talking about two actions that are happening at the same time. That is okay. That's not an interruption. So maybe you could say, I took a... Oh, no, actually, sorry, I take that back. I took a bath while you were going to the party. Yes, you're totally right. That is correct. So while you were going to the party is the first action. That's ongoing, maybe in the car or on a bus. And during that time, you took a bath. So you're right, two actions. While I was going was first, took a bath was second. While I was walking, I fell suddenly. Yes, that's a great example, Laureen. Max says, while I was sleeping, someone came into the room and switched on the light. Perfect example. That sounds terrible. I would hate that. I hate it when people turn the light on when I'm sleeping. Okay. Let's do a quick comparison just to try to make it a little bit more clear for you. So, if we have these two examples. I was cooking when my phone rang, and I cooked when my phone rang. Now these, of course, have different grammar structures, right? Because I was cooking is past continuous, when my phone rang is past simple. Second one is I cooked, past simple, when my phone rang, past simple. So they have different, of course, they have different meanings as well. So what we can think of it is like this. Number one is I was cooking first. Then my phone rang second and interrupted my action. Whereas number two is more like this. My phone rang first, and as it rang, when I was talking, I started cooking. So I cooked when my phone rang. My phone rang, I started cooking. So you can see that it's really important to put the correct tense here because it actually changes the meaning quite a lot. Okay. So, before I move on, do you have any questions on the past continuous for interrupted actions or an ongoing action in the past? We will go through some practice, but before I go to practice, I want to see if you have any questions. So Zakia said, while she was printing her paper, her father called. That's a really good example. However, don't use capital letters, Zakia, for she and her. Pronouns like she and her don't use capital letters. So small letters for those ones. So Heidi has a good question. She says, are there some signal words for the meaning NR1 of past continuous tenses? What do you mean NR1? I'm not sure what that means, Heidi, sorry. Can you let me know? So Max has a good question. He said, can I explain again? I was cooking and I cooked. So yes, if you look at the examples on the slide, example 1 and example 2, what these examples show is that it's really important to use the correct tense to show actions, the order of actions. For example, which action came first, which action came second. Don't worry, Max. Don't be sorry. So in number 1, it says, I was cooking when my phone rang. So what this sentence shows was that cooking was the first thing that happened. Second thing that happened was my phone rang, but it was interrupted. So it shows an interruption. But the first action was cooking, second action, phone rang. In sentence number 2, I cooked when my phone rang actually has a different order. So my phone rang first, then next I cooked. So it's a bit different. So what the tenses do is show the order of actions. Okay, so I hope that helped. Laureen says, for second, can we say I had cooked when my phone rang. Yes, you can. That's a different tense than this lesson. So I had cooked is the past perfect. And that means that I had cooked when my phone rang means I had finished cooking. I had finished cooking when my phone rang. So you're right, you can say that, but it has different meaning. Was cooking means I didn't finish cooking. Had cooked means I finished cooking. You says, how about two actions at the same time? Yeah, while I was cooking, my husband was watching TV. Yes, it can be like that if it's not an interrupted action. You can use it for two actions happening at the same time. However, that's a little bit rarer. You more often use this when you talk about interruptions. Maybe people who use, situations where you use for two actions at the same time might be more like storytelling. So, for example, I could tell a story about my students today. So, I was walking into my when I walked into my classroom, my students were studying. Stella was studying English. Julian was studying maths, and so on. So it's all about making a scene and actions happening at the same time. Okay, Heidi says, regarding to the first part of your expression, meaning NR2, the signal has worked well. Are there any more? Oh, right, yes, that's a good question. Yes, there's one more, but it's less common, and it is as. So Heidi, you can say, as I was cooking, my phone rang. So you can replace as with while, and it has the same function. However, that's not as common. Much more common to use while. But you can use as. Maybe in more formal writing, people say as more so. Okay, yeah, so Max says thank you, no problem. Laureen says thank you, that's my pleasure. Zaki says sentence number is more difficult to be understood. Number 2, yes, you're right. More difficult and less common. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Let's have a quick practice. So here are some practice questions. So I'm going to give you some sentences with some gaps, and I want you to fill in the gaps with the present continuous or the present simple, depending on the situation. Which action came first, which action came second. Okay, so I should say number 1, I'm sorry. So for number 1, we have Robin. Robin something home when he a little puppy on the street. Mardine. Oh, Mardine says hello. Mardine is one of my first online students. About a year ago, he followed me on Twitter, so he's a very good student of mine. I'm very happy Mardine's here. Welcome. Yep, so for this case, we can say Robin was walking home when he saw a little puppy. Okay, little puppy on the street. So in this case, of course, Robin was walking is the first action. That action got interrupted because he saw a puppy. So when he saw a puppy. Okay, next one. This is a little bit more tricky. So while I to work, I to turn my TV off. Adil, I would love to try and do this every day, but I have to teach many students in my university, so I don't have time. But I will try to do it at least once or sometimes twice a week. Okay, Heidi and Kriti got a good answer. So yes, while I was walking to work, I remembered that I forgot to turn my TV off. Yes. So again, while I was walking is the first action. That action got interrupted. So by myself remembering, so I say I remembered that I forgot. You can use two past verbs if you want to. Remembered that I forgot. Okay, number 3. On her birthday last year, Sarah to work when she a bad accident. Okay, Heidi says was driving and had, and Win says drove and was having. You says was driving and had. Max says was driving and have. And yeah, it was like this. So on her birthday last year, Sarah was driving to work when she had a bad accident. So again, remember, actions that came first and second. So was driving is first. She was driving her car. Then an accident happened. So that was the second action. First action uses past continuous. Second action uses past simple. Okay, number 4. While they were... Oh, oops, I told you the answer. While they, a film, they, a loud bang from outside. Okay, so we have a few answers. Heidi says were watching and heard. Win says were watching, heard. You says were watching and heard. Yes, you're all correct. So while they were watching a film, they heard a loud bang from outside. Of course, with the subject they, the be verb conjugates to were. So while they were watching a film, they heard a loud bang from outside. And last one we'll look at for practice, and then we're going to look at some pronunciation and intonation when using these sentences. So number 5, yesterday the bus to university when we have classes. Oh no. And I gave you the answer, the last one. I just realized I made a mistake. Should be do not. Thank you, Zakia, for answering. Okay, so the answer is, yesterday we were taking the bus to university when we realized that we didn't have classes. Right, remember the negative form did and not usually contracts when speaking, and it becomes didn't. We didn't have classes. Okay, good. Now let's go back to this example, number 4, and I want us to focus on pronunciation. So while we are speaking this, how is our intonation? Is our intonation up, or is our intonation down, or is our intonation flat? Intonation's tricky for a lot of students, especially students who live in Asia, because of the differences between Asian languages and English. But I hope I will help you with intonation quickly. Okay, so I'll read this sentence. I want you to listen. There'll be 2 different intonations, two types. So what are they? Before the comma. Okay, so ready? While they were watching a film, they heard a loud bang from outside. So does the intonation go down twice, up twice, down once, up once? Well, I'll say it one more time. While they were watching a film, they heard a loud bang from outside. Twice up. No, I'm sorry, Max. I'll say it one more time. While they were watching a film, they heard a loud bang from outside. Okay, so the intonation when we use the past continuous for an interrupted action actually goes down twice. So it goes down twice before the comma and then before the the last section. Sorry, pardon me. So, for example, you can wash my hands. While we were watching a film, they heard a loud bang from outside. While they were watching a film, they heard a loud bang from outside. It goes down twice. Another example. Let's find the when example. Same for this example too. It goes down twice. Robin was walking home. Intonation down. Robin was walking home when he saw a puppy on the street. Robin was walking home when he saw a puppy on the street. So remember, for the interrupted version of the past continuous, there are two clauses. While clause or when clause. At the end of each clause, it goes down. Robin was walking home when he saw a puppy on the street. Okay, maybe just a couple of people. All right then, so let's start with this quiz. So, this quiz is about you and your personality. So, I'm wondering if you think in your life that you need to slow down. Like, I mean, are you too busy at the moment? Do you need to relax? Or are you working too hard? So what do you think? Write in the comments section, do you think you need to slow down, or are things okay for you at the moment? Where are we? All right, well, hopefully this quiz will help you to realize if you think you are going too quickly or too slowly. Oh, hi, Diana. How are you? Just so you know, Diana, we're starting a quick English quiz here. So the quiz is about your life. Like, do you need to slow down or do you need to hurry up? So the first question is, when you walk down the street, do you A, walk very fast and use the time to make phone calls or send messages, or do you walk slowly and enjoy it? Let me know in the chat. What do you do, A or B? Pick B. Okay, I think Hanan's quite a slow person. How about you, Diane? What do you do, A or B? Okay, next one, number 2. Oops. Number 2. When I go out to lunch, I eat quickly so that I can get back to work, or I eat slowly and enjoy the food and conversations. Again, pick A or B and write it in the chat. Okay, and question number 3. When there is a family event, I often have to miss it because I have too much to do, or B, I try to plan my time well so that I can attend the event. Again, which one, A or B? And number 4. If traffic is heavy and you're driving your car, I honk my horn a lot and get mad easily in bad traffic, or I slow down and try to drive carefully. Again, A or B, leave it in the chat below. And if you're new to this live stream, please say hi to everyone in the chat. Hanan is Mr. B today. Okay, and number 5, which is the last question. If I'm waiting at the airport and my flight gets delayed, I get impatient and complain, or I wait patiently? A or B? Okay, so based on all of these questions, do you think you need to slow down, or are you already a very relaxed person? I think Hanan is definitely a relaxed person. He's got B's for everything here. What do you think, Hanan? Do you need to slow down, or are you relaxed? Okay. All right. So now here's the quick check. I want you to try to remember what I said. So fill in the missing words on the screen fill in the missing gaps on the screen. So when I walk down the street, I walk very blah and use the time to make phone calls, or B, I walk blah blah and enjoy it. If you know the answer, you can write it in the chat box below. Next one then, number 2. Oh, the answer, sorry. The answer is I walk very fast and use the time to make phone calls, or I walk slowly and enjoy it. Okay, number 2, what can you remember from this? When I go out to lunch, I eat something so that I can get back to work, or I eat and I enjoy the food and conversations. Again, what do you think the answer is? And try to write it in the chat so everyone can see your answers. Oops. Yeah, quick and slow. Yes, right. Next one then. Well, actually, Hannah, it's actually quickly and slowly. So we'll talk about that after. Hello, Purple Lee. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. If you missed the beginning, it's okay. You can still catch up. Okay, next one, number 3. When there is a family event, I often have to miss it because I have too much to do. B, I try to plan my time, something, so that I can attend the event. What's the word here? Okay, leave it in the chat box. Number 4 was... Oh, the answer is well. Sorry, I keep forgetting there's answers here. Next one, number 4. If the traffic is heavy, I honk my horn a lot and get mad, something, in bad traffic. I slow down and try to drive something else. So again, what do you think the missing word is here? Yep, purple, that's right. Carefully is the first one, is the second one. What about the first one? What is E? I get mad, what? Okay. Next one, last one is, well, the answer is easily, and I tried to drive carefully. Sorry, spelling, not 2 C's in carefully, just 1. That's a little typo. Right, Hanan, easily, good. Watch out for the spelling, though. E-A-S-I-L-Y for easily. Okay, number 5. If I'm waiting at the airport and my flight gets delayed, I get impatient and complain, or B, I wait something. Well, yes, right, Purple E. The answer is patiently. Patiently. Okay, so these words in red, what words are they? What word category? Is it a noun? Is it a verb? What can we call these words? Oh, hello, Dayu. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Good to see you here. Yes, Dayu. Yes, Purple Lee. They are adverbs, right? In English, we use many adverbs for many different reasons. Here are some of the reasons why we use adverbs. We have adverbs of time, adverbs of frequency, adverbs of manner, and adverbs of place. So these adverbs, the ones in red, which were patiently, easily, quickly, fast, well, what type of adverbs do you think these are? Leave your answer in the chat box. Dayu, it's really good to see you here, by the way. Dayu is one of my favorite students. She's on my Twitter account and maybe Instagram as well, and also a big follower on YouTube, so that's really great. And Zakia, hi, good to see you. Yes. Yes, everyone, I think you got the right answer here. These adverbs are what we call adverbs of manner. And they're important because adverbs of manner do a special thing. Adverbs of manner describe how an action is done. Action is a very important word here. So an action verb, for example, like waiting, or running, or driving, singing, teaching, watching, these are all what we call action verbs. So adverbs of manner, they describe how that action is done. Okay, hi. Who else is here? Hi, Zakia. Nice to meet you too. From Indonesia, that's awesome. I've always wanted to go to Bali, actually. So one day I'll get a chance, maybe. Okay, so like I said, these are adverbs of manner. And they describe how actions are done. What they do is it gives more information on that action, which is always a verb. Action has to be a verb. All right, so here are some examples. We have verb, or the structure is usually verb plus adverb. So some examples. I wait patiently in line. He drives carefully. She sings well. She speaks fast. So these in red are all adverbs, and the verbs are in blue, which are underlined. Okay? The structure is normally, and I'm going to say quite frequently, verb plus adverb. So wait patiently, drive carefully, sing well, speak fast. But sometimes the structure can change. It can go adverb to verb, but not in all cases. So have a look at these examples here. Are these all correct? Which ones do you think are incorrect here? Number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Leave your answers in the chat box below. And of course, if you're new here, please say hi to everyone. Introduce yourself, please, and tell everyone where you're from, maybe, and your name. Yes, Hanan, 4 is incorrect. Good. Anything else here that's incorrect? Purple Lee says 3. Oh, Purple Lee from Korea. I'm actually living in Seoul as well, so it's awesome to see you. And Cake. Yes, I do some short videos for Cake sometimes, and I'm glad you used that. It's a really good application. Hello, Kriti. I hope I pronounced that right, from India. Good to see you. Okay, so back to my question. My question was, which ones of these are incorrect? And the answer is 3 and 4. Number 3 and 4 are incorrect. So the rule is, if the adverb ends in ly, then the structure can go adverb and verb. If the adverb doesn't end in ly, then it should always be verb and adverb. So number 3 and number 4 are wrong. We should say she sings well or she speaks fast. Don't forget that, because this is a very common mistake in the IELTS exam. and the examiners quite often grade students down a lot if they get the order of verbs incorrectly. Okay, so let's move on quickly then. So here are some regular adverbs. Most regular adverbs, sorry, not most, all regular adverbs end in ly. This is quite simple. So we have adjectives like careful, easy, automatic, patient, strong, quick. These are typical adjectives. How can you make these into adverbs? So quite simply, can you add the ly to the end of them? You can write a couple examples in the chat below and we'll check together in 1 minute. So go ahead and think about this carefully. Yes, right. I think everyone did that right. So it's quite simple. Regular ly adverbs, they end in ly. So careful becomes carefully. 2 L's, be careful. Easy becomes easily. The rule here for spelling is if it ends in a y, then the y changes to I and you add ly. So easily. Automatic becomes automatically. The rule for this spelling is that if the word ends in a C, then ALLY is added to the end. Automatically. Next one, patiently, strongly, and quickly. Okay, these ones are quite easy, and I'm sure you all know this already. It's much more of a review. However, English is English, and it's quite a funny language because there are many irregular adverbs. And these ones are a little more tricky for many students. So again, your job now is to write the adverb for these adjectives. So the adjective is good, late, fast, hard, and high. How do you make these into an adverb? Take a minute, write them in the chat below, and we'll check and help each other. And also, if you are new here to this chat, please say hi to everyone. Okay, I hope you're all typing. I'll show you the answers now just to speed things up a little bit. I want to go to Q&A. I'm sure you have many English questions to ask me. So firstly, we have good becomes well. Late, oh, I spell a mistake. Late becomes late, not last, pardon me. Fast becomes fast, hard becomes hard, and high becomes high. You should remember that if you change late to lately, and fast to fastly, and hard to hardly, and high to highly, the meaning actually changes. So be careful with that. This is also a common mistake among many students. Sorry for the typo. Late should be late. Okay. Irregular adverbs. Keep an eye on that. Okay, so let's quickly do another quick quiz. So look at these 4 sentences here. Do you think these sentences are okay? If they're not okay, why not? I am patiently. His voice sounds well. She gets angrily sometimes. I feel safely. Yeah, good. Actually, Hanam, it's really good that you sensed that was wrong. That means you have good English intuition. So, yeah, keep studying hard and I'm sure you'll build your intuition up more. Yeah, they're all wrong. So why? Why are they all wrong, Purpley? What's the reason? Because, like I said before, adverbs follow verbs, right? But I am is a verb, sounds is a verb, gets is a verb, and feel is a verb. So why are these wrong? Yes, right. Yeah, you're all right. So Purple Lee wrote am, get, feel plus a. So I guess you mean adjective there. And Hannah said I am patient, which is also correct. So what's the reason for this? Well, it's quite simple. It's to do with the type of verb. So you cannot use an adverb with most state verbs. So be, sounds, get, seems, and feel are all state verbs, and these do not take an adverb. Remember, adverbs of manner describe an action. State verbs are not actions. They're more feelings or things that are constant in your life. So these type of verbs you cannot use adverbs with. Instead, you have to use adjectives, like patient. So, for example, I am patient. His voice sounds good. She gets angry. I feel safe. So these are state verbs. There is of course, this language is English, so there are many exceptions. Feel has several meanings. In the second one, where it says here, I feel strongly about it. Here, strongly is an adverb, but in this case, feel doesn't mean a state. It means about your opinion. So I feel is about your opinion. So I feel strongly means my opinion is strong. I hope that makes sense here. Also, here, you might be thinking, I feel safe. Okay, that makes sense. But what about this? I feel well. Earlier we talked about well being an adverb, right? I feel well. That's also fine, of course. That means I feel healthy. The difference is I feel good and I feel well. Well, it means that you are feeling healthy and your body's in good condition. So that is okay. But if you want to say I feel good, that's also okay. So remember, feel as a state, you just use an adjective with it. Okay. English has many types of confusing verbs like this, so I hope this little reminder for you is very helpful. Okay, let's have a quick practice. So I'm going to show you some sentences here, and I want you to fill in the gaps. Simple. So quick practice. Number 1. Young people talk really and don't speak something. Thank you, Purple Leah. It is a bit confusing, I agree. Yep, good. So young people talk really fast and don't speak clearly. Good. Okay, what else do we have here? Number 2. Some people can't wait, patient, something, and they don't speak either. What's the word here? Yep, good. Patiently and politely. So then these are adverbs. These are regular forms, so they take the ly. Okay, number 3. Sometimes families argue because parents and children see things differently. Again, a regular adverb. See things differently. So we're talking about the verb see here. Number 4. A lot of people try something to do their job and something. Yes, these action all have, yes, you're right. These all have action verbs. Hard. Yes, exactly. So a lot of people try hard to do their jobs well and carefully.